Oregon goes into Penn State to face a whiteout, and they come away with a 30-24 win. We're going to talk about what we've learned from this game for both Oregon and Penn State, and go through kind of what happened. And this was a game that was a very different first half from the second half. And I think that for the most part, Oregon had a lot of confidence going into this game because of the way they were playing. And initially, that's how it looked. Initially, it looked like they were the better team. They just weren't finishing drives. This was a game that at halftime it was 3-3, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like a tie game. It felt like Oregon was very much in control. Defense was taking it to this Penn State offense, and there really wasn't much that Penn State could do. It felt like Oregon was just going to control the entire game and just kind of take it from there. Then you go up in the second half, and it looked more of the same. But this was a very interesting thing because we talked about Penn State and Oregon and how they hadn't played anybody coming into this game. And it was going to be interesting to see how both offenses performed. And initially, Penn State's offense did not look good. At halftime, they were averaging 1.8 yards per carry. Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen were basically non-existent. Drew Aller didn't feel like he had any time to throw, nor was he making any throws when he was given time. So it felt like this offense was in for a long night. The nice thing, though, is that Penn State's defense was doing the same thing to Oregon's offense. The Ducks only had 2.8 yards per carry. That was very interesting to watch. We knew both defenses were good, and they basically just proved that they were legit. They proved that they were both good elite defenses that can shut down the opposing offense. I think part of the initial struggles for Penn State is I truly think that Andy Koltnicki gets too intricate too early. I think that he tries too many different things early in games and his team can't get in rhythm. Now, I can understand the argument where you think that, well, if we give them different looks, it's more that they have to worry about. I don't think his offense found any rhythm in the first half. Part of that was the Oregon defense, but you were just trying to do too many different things, too many unique things, and almost in a way you're getting too cute. And there's no rhythm to your team, no rhythm to your offense. The rushing attack can't get going, and I think this team's too talented to do that. You can add that in later in the game when we find out that that's a really good option to have. I really like those wrinkles as long as you're establishing things because I don't think Drew Aller got into a rhythm. And Oregon's defense coordinator, Tosh Lupoy, had Andy Koltnicki's number, plain and simple, in that first half. This was a very lopsided game outside of the scoreboard. It felt like Oregon was taking it to them in the first half. And even though, again, it was 3-3, Oregon outgained Penn State 189 yards to 69 in the first half. Penn State's offense was struggling to move the ball. It looked like Oregon just plain and simple wasn't finishing drives, and that was the biggest reason why they were not ahead by more. They had a missed field goal. They had some bobbled opportunities where they could have put up more points, and it felt like Oregon was really stopping Oregon at times. So you have to feel good, though, if you're Penn State. You go into the second half, and you had, I think there was a couple plays where you felt like Penn State could have had the wind knocked out of them. The first one was the Noah Whittington fumble where Chaz Coleman knocks it out. Zakee Wheatley picks it up, runs it for a ways, and then they go to replay and overturn it. Now, in a world of replay where sometimes it seems like it's obvious, then it ends up not being obvious, and then sometimes it's not obvious and the refs overturn it like it's obvious, that one felt like it was maybe a stretch to call it down. But they overturn it, and that was a bit of a surprise. And the next play, you see Oregon run it in. De'Aaron Hill runs it in for 8 yards, an 8-yard pass from Dante Moore to give them a 10-3 lead. Now that could have been, again, that could have been the nail in the coffin because of how low scoring this game was. Then there was another opportunity. In the fourth quarter, Oregon scores again to make it 17-3. And in a game like this, 17-3 was almost like impossible to come back. It was almost like it wasn't going to happen. And yet, this team still finds a way to come back. Now, the one thing we'll talk about here is that this is not your Oregon of old, right? We've kind of seen that in bits and pieces over the last couple years under Dan Lanning, but this game kind of confirmed that this is not your Oregon of old. This is not a team that wants to spread it out every single play and go at lightning speed all the time. They are capable of giving different looks. They're capable of using heavy personnel. Their last touchdown to go up 17-3 in regulation, they went heavy personnel, and they also were leaning on freshmen to make plays, which is just part of the new era of college football. But also, Oregon is embracing that, and they have 3 freshmen right now on that offense that are going to be special. De'Aaron Hill, Jordan Davison, DeCorian Moore. They are set at those positions for the next couple of years. And you saw these kids play at a high level. You saw them do things that you're not used to freshmen doing. And that gives Oregon a ton of confidence for the rest of the year. That gives Oregon a lot of excitement for the future of this program. And Dan Lanning obviously trusts these kids to make plays. And that was an impressive performance, and also a statement of, we are going to find whatever way possible to win this game. And Will Stein deserves a ton of credit. I thought he did a great job of dialing up plays pretty much all game. I thought that he did a good job of mixing things up, and also just not getting too cute, keeping it simple, still mixing in some of those intricacies and dressing things up as one way and giving this Penn State defense something to think about. But it was a challenge. Both coordinators were really struggling against Jim Knowles and Tosh Lupoy. That was a great performance by these defenses. And then this is truly where Penn State finally wakes up. Penn State finally gets back to, okay, well, let's simplify some things. And we finally get to see Drew Allard use his arm the way we expected him. The touchdown pass to make it 17-10 to Devontae Ross. One, we see Devontae Ross in the offense, which we were kind of waiting for almost the entire year. There have been a couple things that factored into that, and this is exactly what you wanted to see. An absolute beautiful rainbow to Devontae Ross, 35 yards, drops it right in there, makes it 17-10. I think that Katron Allen also benefited from a little bit more simplified play calling. You also saw Nick Singleton get involved a little bit more. So overall, it was a good batch of play calling by Andy Koltnicki. And that's kind of what you needed, right? You needed to get back to some of those basic things. Don't try to make everything so unique and all these different looks. I think it's a trendy thing, but also it's kind of like there's a time and place for it, right? And at times it felt like the only way they could move the ball is when they were trying to get cute. And at that point, it was just not working. Then you get to this play calling, and it was fun to watch. This offense was fun to watch. And then they get the ball late in the game, down 7, and they march down the field. And again, this is the perfect opportunity to put in a wrinkle, and you run essentially a fake toss counter shovel pass to Devontae Ross, wide open on the left side to tie it up. An incredible play call at that time in a big moment, exactly what you needed if you are Penn State. And all the momentum is suddenly with the Nittany Lions. And that stadium was rocking. And really, that stadium reminds everyone why college football is incredible. You've heard some pretty electric stadiums this weekend, and Penn State was definitely up there, if not the best. It was so loud, the fans were into it, and that's what makes this so special. It's so fun to watch, and it's made this environment even better. It made the game, the stakes of the game, even greater. So then you go to overtime, and Penn State picked up right where they left off. They looked very efficient. Katron Allen was looking really good. They ran a sweep to Trevor Pena, and it's 24-17. Oregon then responds with the touchdown of their own. They get a big fourth down conversion from Dante Moore with his legs, which that was part of this offense that we saw a little bit more of. We saw Dante Moore's legs get involved more than we've seen in the past. And same thing with Drew Aller. We saw both quarterbacks get involved more than we expected. Dante Moore ran the ball 10 times for 35 yards. Drew Aller 9 times for 42 yards. We wondered, how can you open up the offense? And Penn State was always going to use Allen and Singleton for the most part, but now they have an option with Aller. He slimmed down in the offseason. Now you get to see what he can do with his legs. That gives this offense so many more opportunities. Same thing with Dante Moore. They had a couple of quarterback designed runs that were big conversions for them. And they found ways to convert on that fourth down. They scored a touchdown that was honestly a roller coaster of a touchdown to tie it up. The second overtime, one play for Oregon, 25-yard touchdown from Dante Moore. And again, Dante Moore had to make a play. He had to escape pressure, use his legs, and Gary Bryant Jr. is wide open. Now the 2-point conversion gets picked off by Dennis Sutton, but then they go to Penn State. They don't run it back. It's 30-24. Drew Aller then throws a pick. Dylan Thieneman, a transfer from Purdue, picks it off, and it essentially ends the game. So kind of deflating of an end if you're Penn State. A big win for the Oregon Ducks. A huge win for the Oregon Ducks. To be able to go into an environment like that and come away with a win, especially with how it was looking and how it suddenly changed, that's incredible. If you're Penn State, though, you have to at least know that, hey, we can play with a team like this. Our offense has the ability. Our quarterback has the ability. Now, what I need to see is these wide receivers. Something has to change. Somebody has to step up. Devontae Ross, 4 catches, 48 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. Trevor Pena, 2 catches for 16 yards. Kyron Hudson, no catches. You just can't have that. I will give this Oregon defense credit. They played really well. However, if you're a Penn State fan, that has to be unacceptable. And Andy Koltenicky has to figure out how to turn that around. So that's going to be a problem until they can fix that, because you're not going to go very far if your wide receivers disappear when you need them the most. A total of 6 catches between those 3 for 60 yards, that is not going to get the job done. You need to be able to make a big time impact, because to be completely honest, a freshman in DeCorian Moore was the best wide receiver on the field. Kenyon Sadiq, a tight end, looked a lot better than what Penn State had at tight end as well. And Sadiq's athleticism is just so effortless. It's crazy. But if you're Penn State, you see the potential you have. You just have to find ways to get those other guys involved, because that's only going to open up the offense. We saw that Penn State can use Drew Aller's legs a little bit more, and we saw that he's capable of doing more things for this offense, and that opens up the offense even more. But you have to find ways to get those wide receivers involved. And again, maybe keeping things a little bit simpler. You can still make it complicated with some of the basic concepts that you're running, but all of this, different shifts and unique formations at times gets a little bit too much. I don't care if you're getting in a rhythm and you're using it in second quarter, third quarter, whatever, but it felt like they were just trying to do too many things at once and not really finding a rhythm. That would be one thing I'd like to see from them in bigger games, is let's just get off to a more consistent start. But still a great game. If you're a fan of these two teams, this was absolutely entertaining. And this entire weekend was full of entertaining games. It was so fun to watch. And to essentially end the night with this was almost the best way that you could go out in week 5.